Hola, mis amigos. Back again for another round of man versus Ford. Today, it's shorts weather. Because for some reason, it's going to be 91 degrees in May. Because that's cool. Global warming can suck it. Thanks for all of your noxious emissions, greenhouse gases, ExxonMobil and BP and whoever else is on the list. Anyways, we got a little bit of time. Should we clean? Probably. Should we organize? Probably, definitely. Are we gonna do either of those things? Nah. We are going to focus on the Ford. Because I like the Ford, and I want the Ford to be done so I can enjoy the Ford. Driving around in obnoxious things. Let's see if we can find the keys. Ah, yes. Ah, yes. Keys are right where we left them. So, what did I do the other night, you might ask? We have successfully completed one corner. Actually, the third out of fourth corners. See? It's redonkulous. It fits, mostly. It has really spurned me to most likely upgrade to 33s at some point, because these 31s are no longer looking large. They're looking a little bit small. I'm also noticing as this thing goes higher and we gain more gap, looking a little bit narrow there. I hate that. I really hate, of all the stupid car trends, I hate full-size trucks on like 14-inch wide wheels with stretch tires more than anything in the world. I hate people that cannot keep their wheels inside their fenders or add fender flares or anything. You look ridiculous with half of your tire sticking out the outside of your truck, and you're just going to destroy your paint, and then you're going to sell it to some other guy who's just going to clap it out more, and then the cycle's going to continue, and then someone's going to put a stack on, and then nobody's going to want the truck. Anyways, to really obtain that pre-runner look that I would like, I definitely need a lower offset wheel. So even with the spacers here, I mean, we're fine, but we're inset. I measured it, it's about 3 inches. So going to a slightly beefier tire, going to a lower offset wheel, if I do that, then I'm going to eliminate the spacers and just go back to the 5x4.5 bolt pattern that the Ford is, instead of the 120, or I think it's 120, it might be 107, I don't remember, whatever the Jeep pattern is. But we have successfully completed this front corner, right? So lift block spacers are in there. It's really simple to put these guys in. Literally, well, actually, it's not really simple. It's one of the by far stupidest designs I've ever seen to retain a coil spring. In theory, it works really well. In practice, it's horribly executed. So there is, and I guess I'll show you guys on the other side, but long story short, we got new brake line in, we have no leaks, we are bled up to the driver's side from caliper at this point. The other line, so this is from the, this particular line that comes out the top actually goes over to the passenger side front. So what's a brake bias? We're definitely gonna have supremely even braking in the front, I guess, with one 14-inch long brake line and then one, I don't know, 36-inch long brake line. The other line out of the back is the one that feeds up to the master cylinder. This guy in particular goes all the way across, just straight shot along the rear, or the oh my god, cradle over to the passenger side. So we have one side lifted. To do that, I had to break the strut mount lower bolt, because that made it 99% of the way off, and then just completely sheared. Well, we've got it all back together. We've got the new IACV in. 900-pound hood, new IACV. If you don't know what an IACV is, then it's the brand new part on the old shitty engine. It's definitely still learning its idle. The check engine light is still on. Don't know why. I'm gonna let it go and see if it clears itself, and if not, then we'll do the old blinky light guy again. didn't disconnect the battery or anything, which I guess I could do that at some point. Brakes are 100% better with that line replaced. Actually, I wouldn't say 100% better, because that implies that they're actually 100% fixed. They're not 100% fixed. They are better than they were before. You can pump the pedal and actually build pressure. The rear tires lock up when you are going downhill. The clutch is getting progressively worse. I am going to fire it up, pull it in, and get the passenger front. Oh man, this is kind of annoying when I do this. When I make it big, it used to be so nice to get into, so comfortable. I had a wheel chock under there. It's on this side of the tire. We're gonna be good. But the brakes work substantially better than they used to. Who's driving this thing? I mean, my foot's on, you know, mild pressure right now, and it's locked and it's not bleeding out. So there's definitely still air in the system, still has a bit of that sponginess to it. The booster is definitely still, wouldn't call it foobar, but it definitely needs some help. So we're gonna bleed the rest of the system and see if we can't get, you know, the air out of that. I've got to order a clutch assembly, maybe master and slave, just because this thing is the gift that just keeps on giving. So it does fire right up though, and it does idle beautifully. Check engine lights on again. She's idling though. It seems like we just got timing issues at this point. And come on, clutch. Come on, clutch. Woo! That's some slip. And we hit the chock. Should just power over it. Wow, clutch is really bad now. We're absolutely missing on one cylinder. Oh yeah, yep, we're missing on one cylinder. But, oh, come on. Just get over it, get over it. There we go. Woo! Woo-wee! Look at how that works. Oh man, knocked you guys over. So, as you can see, new ICV, we're actually idling now, like doing real idle things, like a real truck should. It is not 11 o'clock, but I like the implication there. See by the way that shifter is shaking that she's still running rough. I mean, it feels like we're just clearly missing on one cylinder, so maybe I didn't put a spark plug wire on all the way. Guess we could figure that out. That's easy enough to figure out. Oh. Slamming doors. Oh, 900-pound hood again. Let's see what we got for plug wire. Those got hot already. Oh man. Plug wires, are you on all the way? Passenger side is good and tight, like a certain German joke about a certain type of person that you might have heard before. If you hadn't, maybe I'll help you out, maybe I won't. Maybe you could Google it. German, good and tight. Figure out the rest of your joke yourself. Alright. Yeah, all the plug wires are on, right? We've got caps on nice and tight. The plug wires in the cap end are good. Maybe we got a little bit of arcing. I don't know. Honestly, it could just be the fact that this thing has 2.5-year-old gas in it, and it is what it be. Got about half an hour. Let's get this thing up and blown apart, and maybe we can get the sides coil apparatus block spacer in place. All right, remember like, I don't know, 3 minutes ago when I was talking about what kind of bullshit this Ford design was? Here is the retainer nut that holds the coil spring in the middle of the freaking coil. And it's 1 1/8 inches. And it's a lock nut. And it's offset from the nice hole that they give you at the top of the coil spring to reach in there. So, you cannot get a freaking socket on it with a ratchet because the spacing between the coils is too tight for a ratchet, most ratchets to go through. And if you put a 11-inch, 12-inch extension on here, you can't generate any freaking torque on the thing. So, you're stuck using 1 1/8 inches box wrench, fighting against the strut, fighting against the brake. I guess I could take this shit off, but in the interest of trying to be a little bit more speedy about this, this is what you're dealing with. And on top of it, it takes a substantial amount of force. Mind you, this has been soaking for 5 days. 5 days, twice a day, I've come out here with PB Blaster and I've sprayed these down, okay? Absolutely didn't make a difference on the strut mount, because that shit broke with a quarter turn, all right? Completely gone. This is so common that Dorman sells a replacement kit for these that's like $3. I'm not even kidding, it's like $3.88 because of how freaking common it is for these to break. This, on the other hand, is bullshit, all right? This is a good thing that I like to do rowing, because that's what this is. Ready? Okay, so first of all, 1 1/8 fits on there, kind of. Some people say a 29mm. Good luck finding a 29mm wrench, okay? 1 1/8 is what I had. It's what fits. It's a Ford, it's American. SAE, because America, heck yeah, all right? You gotta get this guy in here at like, you know, whatever freaking obscure angle this is. Pray that your wrench is offset, because if it's not an offset wrench at all, by offset I mean, oh, this is my problem. See, now I can't even get it off. Put your feet up against the lower control arm. One hand under, one hand over. That way you destroy the inside of your fingers as you're yanking on the wrench. Okay. Can't put a wrench on the end of this either to generate more leverage because, oh look, the fender's in the way. And then, with a twisting yanking motion, put your back into it. Or in my case, my lats. And then you kind of awkwardly rotate it over. Again. Give it a little loving. And another yank. And another yank. And another yank. And you do this 492 times until the inside of your fingers are bleeding and the gosh darn nut has made its way off. And you have to take the nut all the way off because the spacers have a stud extender that threads onto the top of the stud to give us the additional length that we need to secure this whole ridiculous assembly together. Today was supposed to be deadlift day. Yesterday was supposed to be deadlift day, but I had to drive fence posts, and fence posts are an absolute back destroyer. So I said, you know what? We'll deadlift today, because we're not going to do anything. We're not going to do anything that's going to ruin our backs today. No, we're going to have a nice, easy day. But it's beautiful. And I got to work on Willy. And now I'm going to have lats like Arnold, Mr. Olympia, and fingers like I did the mob wrong, all in the name of finishing the last 2.5 inches on this lift. Don't worry, even though the stud is recessed in the nut now, it's still gonna fight us. Every 16th of a turn on the way. Throw my buys into it now. So if you're not working pecs, buys, and tries, what are you gonna do in beach season? Oh, we're getting a little bit loose now. Maybe I don't have to use my feet now. Just kidding. Just kidding. Because why? You know what? I was gonna time lapse this, but I think this might be more entertaining for you guys. Who doesn't like to see someone struggle just a little bit? Especially if it's not their day. If you're having a bad day, just remember your day could always be worse. You could be trying to get off strut retainers, sorry, spring retainers on a 27-year-old free ranger. And now we're at the point where the nut is so high, coil spring interferes. And before anyone gets smart, it says, why don't you use the open end? Because the open end slips off. Right? We tried that. Because it's some weird, you know what? Probably was 1 1/8" 27 years ago. It's actually loose enough now to. Oh, yep. Probably was 1 1/8" 27 years ago. And then 27 years in New England has slowly stolen millimeters from us. Similar to what happens when you get older. And here we are. Home stretch. Still not loose enough to do by finger though. Because that is too easy. Nope. The old, too loose for a wrench, too tight for the fingers. There we go. Now, I can't tell if there was red Loctite on this at one point. It's a pretty critical suspension component, so odds are that very well might have been. If you look, actually look in there, looks like there might have been on the studs, on the stud threads at some point in there, in the middle. Oh yeah, so once you get this, this nut off, there's a collar in here. This is the actual quote-unquote lock mechanism that holds the strut, or the, Jesus, keep going with the strut, holds the spring onto the lower I-arm, I-beam arm, whatever the hell you want to call this thing. I don't know, I'm sure Ford calls it a latissimus dorsi or some dumbass shit like that. And we're gonna pry the strut off because that broke. Sorry, the shock. We're all sorts of improper terminology today. Do not use this episode of the Breakout Barn for automotive anatomy. Go to Wikipedia or something. I'm gonna drop this a little bit. I had to compress slightly just so I could get the wrench onto the freaking nut. And then, as if that wasn't enough of a pain in the ass, Ford does this amazing thing where there's actually curved teeth on the inside of the upper spring mount. And that locks the spring in place. That keeps it from getting all dangly when you're, I don't know, taking it off sweet jumps, right? So what we gotta do is we gotta twist this guy. This one's actually coming out a lot easier than the driver's side was. Twist this guy to unlock it. We might have gone too far. Push down on this. Let's see if we can get it out of the way, which we can. Woo! And now, have all sorts of stuff. This guy, and this guy. This guy is the plastic, probably nylon. Looks like nylon since it's clear plastic, and it actually fractured when it cracked, so it's more likely than not nylon. Nylon guy lives on top of this guy to, I don't know. Honestly, I have no idea what the nylon spacer is for. I'm sure it was like an NVH concern when Ford designed this thing new from the factory, but I don't think that they understood that this is a 1994 Ford Ranger and it was an NVH machine. NVH stands for noise, vibration, and harshness. It's an industry term for car sounds like shit. All right, now we got bare stud. We have block spacer. Block spacer, kind of D-shaped, I guess you'd call that, right? You got a nice little D-face there. I don't know how important this is, but I always do this. This coil spring locator obviously doesn't fit over the top, right? It fits in the bottom, and if nothing else, it kind of serves as a locating guide for this on the actual spring mount itself, because here's the extended stud, right? So this stud extension threads onto the top of this guy, the stud on the vehicle itself, and gives us that extra height that we need to lock everything in place, right? But this obviously doesn't get centered on here. I'm not a huge fan of these completely free floating. You'll notice that the D shape that I pointed out earlier, that actually goes on the side where the sway bar end link is, so that the sway bar under traverse has space to operate, right? If you had it this way, then you're drastically eliminating the gap, and this thing's just going to knock into it the entire time. This sway bar end link I found when I disconnected it, the bushing is gone, so I need one of these because that's what this car is doing. It is literally everything that I touch. I'm just like, hey, you know what? It needs one of those. This is the most expensive free Ford Ranger in the history of free Ford Rangers to date that I've dealt with. It has not been many, but this is definitely it. So let's thread this bad boy on. Of course, now this one goes on nice because we just did all that work getting that nut off, clean the threads by way of brute force and back pain for our futures. Got it down there close. Tighten this guy up. This is actually 1 1/8 inches, which is kind of nice. Okay, see, it doesn't actually freaking close all the way onto it, but it's there. It makes me feel better. So guess what? It's staying. Ugh. Spacer goes on. Now, the most fun part, and that is trying to get the already too tall spring onto the wrong side, the misangled spacer, and then locked into place. We should probably put it on the correct way, right? So, how I like to do this, get this guy up in here, see if we can get it caught on the first tooth, kind of hold it in place for us. Tooth isn't even angled, it doesn't matter. It doesn't freaking matter. All right, you can get this brake line out of the way. Just gonna break that. Doing these guys. Drop this down as much as we can, get the jack out of the way so we can actually traverse. Put our weight into it. Hope we don't fuck up our shins. Sorry, screw up our shins. I just learned about YouTube's F-bomb guidelines. You can't do it anymore, apparently. Which is disappointing because it's a fantastic word. Used literally all over the world to describe things that are exactly what they need to be. It's gonna be long. I don't care. I think it's better this way. Oh, come on, don't spin on me. Going to drop this guy in there. It's definitely better with a friend, fortunately. All my friends are busy. So when it comes time to tough shit, nobody actually wants to work on a 1994 Ford Ranger. Just me. Come on, brake line. Flex with me here. You could do it. It's worth noting that coil springs are, in fact, extremely dangerous. So you should definitely not just be jamming them with a pry bar like I am. Good news is that we are completely uncompressed. We are on 3 jack stands because I don't trust 1 jack stand. We are in. Give me back my pry bar. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. For what it's worth, this running monologue, this is actually exactly what I do when I'm working on cars with no audio. That's how I talk to myself. This is just how much I love cars. All right, get the jack underneath here. Gonna make sure that the dog is not attacking the neighbor's small dog. That would be no bueno. Oh, we're actually freaking tighten the jack. How about we close the air valve? And then, with the compressor running so you can barely hear anything, I'm gonna precariously dangle this in there, throw the nut on. Not literally throw the nut on. Place the nut on with our fingers, being extremely careful that nothing slips because the spring's actually under a decent amount of pressure right now. We got it threaded. Oh, look at that. I get to listen to me again. Oh, my old man dad grunts. This is what I practice for every time I get out of a chair. And I go, ugh. This is exactly what I'm making those noises for. So when I have to do things like this, they just come naturally. They just flow. Ah, that was my knee. Put a nice pressure cut right in the kneecap, courtesy of the wrench. That hurt a lot. Oh, that really hurt. Good news is I'm just about done. Just about done. Jacking this up so that we can get the strut back onto the broken strut mount until we can get parts in to replace the strut. Good news is we're not driving this on the road yet. So, don't much matter. Same with the sway bar, so I keep track of hardware. Put everything back together loosely. I'm actually gonna let the jack down a little bit on this one. Oh yeah, man, that noise is amazing. Sway bar bolt through, washer, nut, get on there just tight enough so that when it's rolling back and forth in the driveway, it won't fall off. I get mad when I can't find it. I'll have to play the where's my nut game. Now, deload this guy completely, maybe. Yep. Jack stands. Get that. We're gonna have to get this brake line out of the way because the clip is rusted off because it's a freaking Ford Ranger. The good news is now all of the force of the spring is pushing down on the block. So there's nothing actually still really stings on my knee. There's nothing actually putting any outward pressure on this nut, so we're free to tighten this nut as tight as we can get it. And I think I did that already, but just to make sure, yeah, I did. Give it a couple love taps and go back up. Wheel on, 3 acorns, 2 chrome caps because 2 of my acorns are currently being occupied by my trailer. Long story, need to get 2 more acorns. And that is how you do front block on a Ford Ranger in just about 30 minutes. It's actually not bad. I mean, it's horrible, but it's not that bad. Camber is obviously atrocious right now because we had this one side jacked up and then we put it back down. We'll fix that when we move it back and forth. Still be a little bit of positive camber in there because we don't have camber bolts. We don't have a camber correction kit, I should say, in there yet. Yeah, that's pretty much it.